The reason I'm running the Board of Assessors is I've been an assessor for, I believe, 13 or 14 years. Well, the Board of Assessors are an important board within the town of Medfield because we value all property in the town of Medfield, residential, commercial, and industrial, personal property. And that's the way that the town actually bases their tax dollars out of, they collect. And we try to do is put it there so it's done evenly to all people throughout the town of Medfield. There's no favoritism. It's all based on statistics. You know, I love the town of Medfield, and I just couldn't let it go by not to run. So what happened was, due to the virus, the coronavirus, I had a shot on Sunday. Well, the names going to the town clerk had to be there by, actually on Monday morning. I had a reaction from the shot on Sunday, and woke up, and I felt dizzy and so on, so I fell back to sleep. Woke up. By the time I woke up, I actually took the names down to the town clerk, and they wouldn't take them because of the law. You have to have it in by the noon time of that day. So, but that's why, I still want to run, because I think this is a challenge for me to run as a write-in voter. I think that's important for people to know, that they can run as write-in voters. Write-ins. It's important. It's really part of the voting history of this country. You cannot be denied, that's what I'm trying to say, that vote. The vote is important once you're in there as a write-in voter. So it has to be counted right with the person who, I'm not running against the person, I'm running for the board. That's very important. I like the challenge. He is now the incumbent, okay? And I said, well, one person, like I didn't know how important that was, but now I've got the experience and the time, 13 years as an assessor, and I said, why can't I go back and do it this way here by having a write-in? So when you write in, one has to spell out my name, THOMAS SWEENEY, 61 North Street. And all you got to do is write that into the space below where the incumbent, the new person running, and that vote will go to me. If you write it in another spot on that ballot, it will not go to me, but it will go to whoever the person on that particular spot is. Say selectman. The selectman will get my vote. They might not like that, and maybe they will. I think a reason people should vote for me, here I am, I'm asking you for my vote. Not many people will go before the camera and ask you for that vote. That vote is very important for me in the town. It shows it's a form of democracy. The vote is the most important thing you're going to do, or you have done through your time here in Medfield. And I say that to the young people too, because I'll say, the first thing you're going to do, and they'll say, what? I said, you're going to pay a tax. And they all go back like this and say, what tax? And I say, the excise tax on your car. Even though your father and mother gave you that car should be in your name. And that should come back to the house, the tax, whatever it is, you should pay that tax. Through the years of an assessor, I belong to the Mass Association of Assessing Officers, Norfolk County, which is actually Norfolk Suffolk County, which includes Boston Association, and also the International Association of Assessing Officers. But I think one of the most important one is the Norfolk County Board Association, because I deal with people that I know all through Norfolk County. So that's my hometown, and I've always considered that my home county. Actually, I was elected as president to the Norfolk County Suffolk. And Boston, I dealt with Boston too when I was working with the Commonwealth. For many years I went into Boston and went down to City Hall and then the different places that they located the assessors. And it was important, and I think I saw where Boston had a big problem. They were not assessing properly. So what I was hired to do was I was going out to review their data, very important. And when I went out first, their data wasn't even there. But everything was in pencil, in pen. So we used to have to go in Boston, and we'd take their, what we call a property record card. If you ever go to the assessor's office, you ask to see your property record card. And on the property record card, it has all information, like your address, your home style, square footage of the house, square footage of the property or acre, and then any factors that create value. Say they have grade, condition, and then they have year built, effective year built, and these are all used at that time. And you could go down a street, that's what we did, and one fellow would have the property record card, the other one had this big long sheet, and they'd have to mark down on the spreadsheet such and such. We had it all, the headline is up top were all these elements that were on the property record card. And then we'd bring it back, and then we'd take and compare on that street house for house similar, and to see how they're assessed and if it was properly done. So sometimes we'd find houses the same size, condition, different grade. Why? That's what we tried to, now they had to answer that. Why was it a different grade? And if they couldn't, well, why'd you do it? And many a time they didn't know why they did it, because somebody else did it. In the city of Boston, what they have is a board of assessors, then they had a head assessor. But they had field crews that went out and did this work. So they would take and collect the data, and whatever the data, that would go on to the property record card. So we found this out. So this helped us out to come up with the average value, yeah, and which was fair and equitable too. So that's what our thing was. So that's why I and another fellow were the first ones hired to do this work for the Department of Revenue. So we covered the state, not only Boston. I covered out to the western part of the state, Springfield, up to the corner there in Vermont, and then we would go from there, that particular, and we'd work our way down. Actually, we went down the Mohawk Trail, and we would go to the next town, was on the Mohawk or off the Mohawk, and then we would go up to the top. So then we'd go from there, going down the mountain on the other side. We'd stop into well, we'd see Gardner, and we'd hit Princeton. Down the bottom of Princeton, we'd be going down into actually the city of Marlborough, and the towns around Marlborough. Maynard, Concord. They didn't get to Lexington yet, because Lexington was on the other side of 128. So that's that part. So then we'd work the same way. We worked from east to west then. So we would start the next phase, we'd start on 128 and going west on 9. So you'd have Wellesley, and then you'd have Natick, then you'd have Framingham, then you'd have Southborough, then you'd have, off of Southborough, there'd be Ashland, Hopkinton, then farther down to the south would be Holliston. Then we kind of worked the brim of 495 around there. So you'd have out there at Milford, working to the north, we'd run into, again, Hopkinton, parts of Holliston, and then we'd be getting up to the Pike, and you'd be working back into the Southboroughs, Shrewsburys, and then going north again, the same thing. So everything would intertwine. And once you got it down, and then you didn't have to do that. You could go directly to the town, and because before this, we would compare values in this town to that town, and we didn't know why they were different. Now we knew they were different after many studies, because individual towns have different ways of valuing their property, and some are usually do it on a strict cost basis, some do it on a market cost, and all do it on the commercial industrial as an income. Some will do it as a market cost, and they will adjust it for the particular market, the cost. But the income is income. So if you're getting $10 a square foot in Medfield for X amount of square footage, and you got Millis, it's $10 a foot X. They should be very similar. The only thing different would be location within the town of Medfield, the town of Millis. And location plays a lot to do with access to the commercial. You're in the main strip, or you're off on the side streets where not that many people actually, and it shows in the income too, because people, they just don't make that much money as you would make on a main street. So we'd compare those things. They're all intertwined.